So we've been getting a lot more emails and a lot more messages coming through. So keep them coming. Please keep them coming. It's really interesting to get people's views and opinions and questions on their careers and their businesses and where they're going. And there was two messages that I received in the past week that I thought were of particular interest. The first one, specifically here in South Africa, but in other African markets as well, we're dealing with a very splintered market. So a lot of people get disillusioned with the big firms and chasing those fees and chasing those budgets and those targets, and they split off and they think, I can do this on my own. So that happens a lot. We've got a ratio of 2 to 1, as in 2 lawyers for every 1 firm, which is incredibly small. We've got about 15,500 registered law firms here, and it's just very, very splintered. Obviously, that's okay for some people. It means that the growth is a bit stunted sometimes. But one of the questions I was asked was, firstly, by a firm who said we'd be keen to roll in anyone that's working for themselves and is running a decent practice but wants to grow it. And the second point on that was from someone I was speaking to who runs their own firm. And he was saying to me, well, look, why would I leave? Why would I trade the flexibility and the freedom I have to join a bigger firm again? And it's a real tricky one. And it probably needs a whole podcast of its own. But, you know, the firms that are trying to attract people are now really understanding that you're going to have to really pay for it, because you're asking the person to trade off that flexibility of working for themselves and all of that comes with it. You have to make sure that there is a path to financial riches and to real professional top-level deals, really, and a path, because people aren't just going to roll in their business just because it's a bigger brand. They left that. So we're working with a lot of firms very carefully on making sure that there's individualized, tailored packages to make sure that the person is getting what they really want, short, medium, and longer term. And that will make it more attractive for the individual. On that note, the individual in particular I was talking to was also saying that, you know, he really struggles to grow the firm because he gets a good candidate attorney or a junior associate in, trains them really well, and then a bigger firm comes along and offers them more money. That's going to happen quite a lot. It's stunted by growth, having to use a kind of a legal outsource services company, which is not the way to go if you really want to grow your business. You need to be growing it by numbers and having people stick around. But in the same breath, we're having the whole conversation about what is a long time. Now, I've talked about this a lot with clients, and I think it's as true for small one-person shops as it is for the big shops. When you are hiring someone, look at them and look at their career and talk to their career in 2-year tranches. What do they want to achieve in the next 2 years, and what do you need them to achieve in the next 2 years? I'm not going to give away any more secrets than that, but we have a whole strategy based around that, targets and achievables, and anybody who wants to know more can get in touch with me. But it's an ever-moving market, and it's one that we need to look at. When you've got a splintered market like we've got, and companies of all sizes want to grow, it's a conversation that needs to keep happening. And the secondly, which is kind of related, the other message was someone who was absolutely adamant that they would never go and work for a big firm again. Really did not want to be, pressured and crushed, as this particular gentleman put it, by targets. Obviously, he'd had a bad experience at the last big firm that he worked at. And that's going to happen. Again, it's this sort of expectation of the big firms and the medium-sized firms that they are great places to work, and why wouldn't you want to join us? On that note, and this is something that I've been talking to a lot of the bigger firms about, is that you've got to remember that not everybody wants to work there. So you've got to have to make an exciting, attractive platform and package for them, a longer term as well. There's a whole thing about training, development, and client ownership that needs to be taken into consideration. And also, that sometimes the talent pool that you're looking at isn't as good as you assume it would be. There are a lot of people out there, but not maybe all skilled in the right ways and the right training that you would want. So This particular gentleman was saying absolutely no way, and that is a common thread. I do think my advice to him was don't write it off completely. You know, careers and career goals change on a month-to-month, year-to-year basis, and I think it's important that you don't cut yourself off. You are limiting your growth by working on your own because you know, you're not necessarily going to open up the doors to in-house positions later on. The longer you stay on your own, the harder it is to maybe move your practice and start working for someone else. So whilst it's a good experience, bear in mind that once you pass a 6-year mark, that you might be shutting doors on future opportunities, especially overseas as well. So yeah, look, that wraps up this week. There's some brilliant interviews to check out on Legal Unicorns. We did a big push and a big video with Martina Stain, who's based in Hong Kong, talking about how to get overseas jobs. We've got a heap of events coming up, including the University of Johannesburg Combating Corruption event. The Champions Mindset's coming up. The links are below. Get your tickets and get in touch.